Hello, everybody. Hopefully, everybody's had a good weekend. Just gonna give people a few minutes to come in, and while we wait, of course, I'm gonna step away for a moment, do something real quick, and I'll be right back. So until then, we'll have some music. What do you think? I'm away. All right, hello, everybody. I'm back. Just waiting on some more people to show up. Yeah, we will. Uh, so, on the mission. Where the cowboys roam, little on the by the cold of the Oh, yo quiero más, yo quiero más de mamá, no. That's it. Do 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 I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm strong to the finish when I ain't my stand. Popeye the Sailor Man. Tiny Toon Adventures, come and join the fun. Now the song is done. Hong Kong Phooey, number one super guy. Hong Kong Phooey, quicker than a human eye. Chicka chong, chicka wah wah wah. Hong Kong Phooey, that's terrific. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, looking for you. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? All the stars are here, waiting for you. Couldn't have a show without you. Scooby, Scooby-Doo. Hey, Scooby, where are you? Over here. Let's see now. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We got some work to do now. Come on, Scooby-Doo, I see you, pretending you got a shiver. You're not fooling me, 'cause I can see the way you shake and shiver. You know we got a mystery to solve, so Scooby-Doo, be ready for your act. Don't hold back, and Scooby-Doo, you're gonna have yourself a Scooby snack. That's a fact. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? Ready and you're willing. We can count on you, please, Scooby-Doo. You know we'll catch that villain. Let's see now. Oh, and all the ways you come again, and everyone who has to side you. Do 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 do. All right, so now we're coming up on 8 minutes here, so I guess it would be a good time to at least go over what's on tap tonight. I do have 5 articles I'll be going over, all from Bounding into Comics. First thing looking at is some stuff regarding a video game involving Velma Dinkley, the Multiverses video game. Some issues over Velma Dinkley's special move on that. Let's see, what else is on tap for tonight here? Let's see. Oh, yeah. So Mobile Suit Gundam Kuguru's Done's Island is going to get a limited Western theatrical release, according to Crunchyroll. Let's see, what else do we have for you? Katakawa begins serialization of a new hilarious Elden Ring gag manga. Netflix officially confirms the release date for third and final season of Beastars, and also we'll be having some more Neil Gaiman news in regards to the Sandman series. So with all that being said, and of course we have the wrestling roundup and the This Day Neat History segment. But with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started here, as we're now just past 9 minutes here. So go ahead and get it shared. All right, so with that being said, let's go take a look at this. Now this is now normally I don't cover a lot of video game stuff, but since this does have a tangent connection to, of course, Scooby-Doo, which is a classic cartoon, we're going to go ahead and look at this article. So Velma no longer calls the police on other fighters in multiverses, in smaller quotes, after a special move is met with scrutiny on social media. So this probably the scrutiny, as it were, is probably coming from the anti-cop brigade, basically. Article published by Ryan Pearson, and it was published this past Friday on the 9th. Video game article. So, Velma's cop calling attack in Multiverses has been changed to summoning the Mystery Machine after a smattering of discussion and jokes. All right. Velma may not be as wild as other cartoon characters in Scooby-Doo, the franchise she actually stems from. In Multiverses, she has plenty of weird and wonderful moves. She can batter foes with a flash of her flashlight or camera light bulbs appearing above her head when she had a good idea. Classic cartoon motif, right? I got an idea. We see it almost in a lot of the older cartoons, particularly the ones from the 60s. In fact, I was watching a Pink Panther cartoon yesterday, I believe, and saw something of that like that. Yeah, and the kid of the Pink Panther cartoon actually took the light bulb and used it to put into a light stand. So, okay. Math shot out of a calculator, freezing chemicals thrown on the ground, and yelling sassy word bubbles, or through a megaphone. All right. Torrents of projectiles aside, the move that's gotten some people in a tizzy is where she calls the cops. The move's description reportedly states Velma, quote, finds out who they really are and calls the police. Yeah, I could see that. In other words, what they're doing, I think the scrutiny is here is that they're implying that Velma is swatting, trying to swat people. Okay. Sure enough, after collecting enough evidence, Velma can call a police car showing them a wanted poster of quote unquote Mr. Jenkins. Speech bubbles then appear above one or more opposing characters' heads, revealing they are Mr. Jenkins in disguise. In parentheses here, akin to the original cartoon's Monster of the Week. The police car then moves towards the marked opponents. When it catches up to them, a silhouette of the character can be seen on the back. Well, okay, I think in the back seats, I think what they meant to say. With the imposter marker changing to show the character behind bars. As the police car attempts to hurl itself off the stage, as the prompt, quote unquote, call the police above Velma's head was shared by the Bestaban, at the Bestaban. Others on Twitter mocked it by comparing it to a Karen slang term attributed to demanding women who wildly escalate things that inconvenience them, which could hypothetically include calling the police for a minor or petty matter. Yep. Others called it a quote unquote white woman move, or joked the move would be more effective against black characters. Oh boy. Yeah, it could. It just simply couldn't be that she could be calling the police to legitimately capture a criminal, could it? Oh my goodness. I mean, they implying that she's swatting people, and then but then that's what the Mystery Inc. gang is. They are detectives after all. Others instead opted for those accused of a crime, such as characters in the game, due to their actions in their respective shows, or even in game for assaulting, Velma, or certain fighting game communities due to. Oh wait. Others instead opted for those accused of a crime, such as characters in the game due to their actions in their respective shows, or even in game for assaulting Velma, or certain fighting game communities due to prior cases of SA and harassment by prominent or infamous players. The vast majority seem to be joking about it rather than make accusations of racism. Polygon took the matter more seriously in their report. Quote, is that a funny idea in concept? Of course it is. Is it funny in practice to watch a cop car roll up and start wreaking havoc in the year 2022 in a game with black characters, including real world people like Ron James? Not so much. Unquote. And of course, you got the virtue signalers coming out crying foul again. Yeah, that's okay. Granted, what you have to remember too is that Velma, along with the rest of Mystery Inc., they are detectives. And of course, they would be calling police when they have enough evidence to actually put somebody in jail for a crime they are committing. It doesn't matter if they're white, black, yellow, red, brown, whatever. Okay, you commit a crime, you have to do the time. Period. They then claim distrust in the American police force is at an all-time high, unquote, quote unquote. They later insist, quote, it's clear now to many Americans, although this has long been obvious to marginalized and oppressed folks in this country, that the police are not, in smaller quotes, the good guys. They are depicted as in shows like Scooby-Doo. That's taking it a little over the top. Again, it's also a little bit the idea of the one bad apple spoiling the bunch here. Unfortunately, that comes into play a little bit here. But this whole idea of institutional racism is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. While a petition asking for the police to be replaced with the Mystery Machine only reached 34 signatures, a fraction compared to those asking for Walter White to be in the game or to, quote, make Thelma thick again. Okay. Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment and developer Player First Games acted on the discussion around the move. The, quote, open beta season 1.02 patch notes, unquote, released September 8th, which is last Thursday, revealed that the latest patch, quote, instead of calling the police, Velma now solves the mystery and calls the Mystery Inc. gang and the Mystery Machine to take the bad guys away, unquote. The attack still shows the imposter being put behind bars. However, so basically the idea is that instead of the police doing their job, they just have the Mystery Machine take the person to jail. Okay, theoretically, yes, you could do the whole citizens arrest idea. That's what you're going for. But if anything, I think if you start doing that, that's actually gonna backfire. That's gonna actually backfire and blow up in people's faces if you start encouraging vigilantism. Let's see if anybody's come in yet. Is there anything? No, not yet. In an arguably similar move, Epic Games removed police cars from Fortnite in 2020 amid the Black Lives Matter riots, following the death of George Floyd and wider discussion about police brutality. This was despite other police costumes still remaining in the game. Other fictional characters, quote unquote, fighting for justice, have come under fire in recent years. Some propose that the more petty criminals have acted out of desperation to more libelous claims of them targeting people of color. This may suggest why Batman Fortress #1 saw the Cape Crusader fleeing from an Antifa and Black Lives Matter style riot. Yes, and we did cover that article a while back. Basically, the idea of, well, Batman would just let something like that go because, it's like, even though in some ways they're actually decrying people like his alter ego, Bruce Wayne. So, go figure. Alright, so anyway, that would go with that one. That's all for that article. There was another one here. Well, they somehow ended up. We'll get to that in a moment. All right. So, anyways, here's the next article I'll be looking at here. Let me just see where we're at on time here. About 24 minutes into this. Okay. Okay, so Mobile Suit Gundam Kugaru's Done's Island, in smaller quotes, to receive limited Western theatrical run courtesy of Crunchyroll. Article by Spencer McCooley, published this past Friday in the categorized section. Okay, so in the latest indication that the days of Western anime fans having to wait seemingly eons for any good anime to make its way outside of Asia, Crunchyroll has officially announced that they will be bringing Mobile Suit Gundam, franchise's latest cinematic outing, Cougaroo's Dones Island, to the English-speaking territories later this year. Now, mind you, of course, this is a movie that they made out of the 15th episode of the original series that, for unknown reasons, the original creator, original director, whatever, had asked not to be shown during its original run. So this is a movie based on that one episode. So, released in Japan on June 3rd, Mobile Suit Gundam Cougaroo's Dones Island retells the story of the original anime's 15th episode, wherein, as per a synopsis provided by Crunchyroll, quote, after a covert mission goes wrong, finds Mobile Suit pilot Amuro Ray and his comrades stranded on a remote island. The battalion was sent, unquote, then, quote, battalion was sent to a land called the Island of No Return to clear off any enemy forces, only to find a group of children and an enemy mecha attack, unquote. Synopsis adds, quote, now Amuro must find a way for them all to escape this mysterious land, but not before meeting a strange man, Cougaroo's Dome, unquote. Look at, he's got a bandage on his head. Notably, Cougaroo's Dome, notably, Mobile Suit Gundam Cougaroo's Domes Island marks the first time in 40 years that the events of the episode have been depicted in motion, as the original episode has been intentionally they repeated this, has been intentionally memory hold ever since its premiere at the request of series creator Yoshiyuki. At the premiere at the request of series creator Yoshiyuki Tomino. Quote, I asked that it be skipped, unquote, Tomino explained during a Q&A held during the 2002 Anime Expo New York. Quote, there's a reason, but since the staff is still alive, I can't talk about it. So it was never really, he had asked, but he still couldn't, talk. And I don't know, it was never, I don't think it was ever revealed. So according to Crunchyroll, both the dubbed and sub versions of Mobile Suit Gundam Cougaroo's Dones Island will make their English language debut in the United Kingdom, screening first in the island nation from September 21st to the 22nd. So let's see. Today is the 12th, so that'd be next Wednesday and Thursday, basically. A week from this Wednesday, Thursday. This will be followed up by a September 27th, 28th, which would be 2 weeks from tomorrow, basically, engagement in the United States, and non-consecutive September 29th and October 1st screening in Canada. Perhaps most fortunate of all, fans in Australia will receive a 1 week window to see the film when it opens down under on September 14th, which will be 2 days instead. So it's Wednesday. Advance ticket sales for the UK go on sale on September 16th, Friday. Well, tickets for the North American showings are now available. Australian fans can get their hand on tickets starting yeah, when- In the meantime, excited fans can catch the first 10 minutes of the film as officially released by the company themselves on Bandai Filmworks, formerly Sunrise Incorporated, the official Japanese YouTube channel. Note the routing one's connection. Note that routing one's connection through a VPN may be required to access the footage. Oh, there we go with that. Okay. There we go with that article. All right. So we'll get ready to move on to the article here. And they kind of did this twice, apparently, for some reason. Put this up twice here, and I don't know why they did that. That's been an editing issue there. Okay, so anyways, getting back to this now. Alright, so this one kind of manga and video games here. Kadokawa begins serialization of new hilarious Elden Ring gag manga. Article by Nerdigans Inc. published this past Saturday, the 10th. So here we go. It's only a matter of time before From Software's best-selling and worldwide phenomenon RPG Elden Ring would join the ranks of Kingdom Hearts, Legend of Zelda, Pokemon, and Splatoon by receiving manga adaptation of its own. But never in a million years would anyone have guessed that it would be in the form of a gag series. Gag series, I would imagine, meaning that it's more comical than anything else. Published by From Software Company, from software parent company Kadokawa. The official Elden Ring manga comes from a Cursed Sword's Daily Life mangaka Nikichi Tobita. Recently launched in the free-to-read Japanese web magazine Kamaku. Elden Ring: The Road to Erdtree follows the misadventures of the Ampor tarnished wretch Aseo, an amnesiac who one day wakes up to find himself naked, penniless, maidenless, and with a pair of flasks struck to his rear end in the land of Limgrave. Okay. Oh, that's probably not something that really. Yeah, it's probably not something you really want to see. Aseo's only hope in this harsh, unforgiving new land comes in the form of Melina, a mysterious black-robed woman who agrees to serve as his, in smaller quotes, maiden. In this role, Melina not only provides Aseo with general guidance, but also facilitating the exchanging of his combat earned experience points for runes. In return for her runes and sacred flasks, Melina requests that Aseo follows the guidance of Grace and escort her to the foot of the large glowing tree that looms over the lands between Erdtree. Along the way, Kadokawa promises that in addition to a number of original characters, readers will also encounter such established Elden Ring personalities as Patches the Untethered, Blade the Half-Wolf, Margit the Fell Omen, Godric the Grafted, and Rani the Witch. Rani the Witch. As far as I know, gag might most likely supposed to mean like a humor type manga, filled with a bunch of gags or funny situations. I could be wrong, but at least what I would interpret. But anyways, Kadokawa and Yen Press have partnered up to provide an English simulpub, Elden Ring: The Road to Erdtree, through the English language version of the former's Comic Walker website. Currently sitting at 2 chapters released, new chapters of Elden Ring are scheduled to drop on the 4th and 19th of every month. And there we go. There we go now. Oh, we did get somebody pop in to give another like and share, so thank you for that. All right, so we're now going to move on to the next article here. All right, Netflix officially confirms release date for third and final season of Beastars. Article by Nerdigan, published this past Saturday, anime and manga. The jungle is finally back with more fun games and political debates. As over a year after its production was revealed, Netflix has officially confirmed a release date for the third and final season of the Beastars anime adaptation. Now, that's a kind of an interesting scene right there. The return date for Paru Itagaki's furry sensation to the small screen was announced on September 7th, which was last Wednesday, by a tweet made by a series of official Twitter accounts. Therein, it was revealed that Beastar's final season will hit Netflix sometime in 2024. So you still got to wait for a little over a year, maybe 2 years to get it. Upon when in 2024 they're going to release it. In terms of production, um, Shinichi Matsumi, scriptwriter Hanami Higuchi, as well as the rest of the original Beastars production team at Studio Orange are slated to finish off the journey they started with the first season back in 2019. However, one notable change, as reported by Anime News Twitter account AIR, Anime Intelligence, when it was first announced on July 20th, 2021, the season will see Netflix have a bigger stake in Beastars production. This had led some to hope the season will be simulcast alongside Japanese television broadcast rather than stuck in the notorious Netflix jail like the first two, which resulted in their debuting international audiences via streaming service several years after its initial airing. Another thing that Beastars fans is that with the previous two seasons, each made up of 12 episodes each, and the last ending the 99th chapter of the manga, full 99th chapter of the manga's full 196 chapter run, Matsumi and Iguchi will try to wrap up 97 chapters worth of story in a similar number of episodes. So, yeah, that would be kind of difficult. I would see that being somewhat difficult. That much information now. Um, some are hoping for a 24 episode send off. It should be pointed out, even with such an increase, still a very high chance that key plot points and moments could be cut in the jump from page to anime, trying to keep them that large. But can't stand against the of particular concern is the Joker, the Legoshi Batman. No, a compelling character and amazing villain whose horrific childhood has come to define the current sadistic tendencies. Any of Mountain's content is cut from the anime. Such a change would compromise both his and Higoshi's arcs. So I guess these are key points of the story that they don't want taken out because it would it would hurt the. I think it would hurt the run a bit, and that some things just wouldn't make sense. That's not to say the same doesn't apply for everyone else. I'm going to step away from the computer for a moment, and I think I'm going to need to turn on the light here in preparation for. Now we are in September, so things are getting a little dimmer more of late. So, anyways, I'll be right back, but I will put some music on for you guys. I'm back. So let's move on with the article here. After all, how Itagaki connects the storylines of everyone from Nagoshi to Lewis to Gosha, and especially the Beastars Yaya himself, is integral to delivering the impactful narrative of the Beastars final arc. Right, then, yeah. And I would agree with that. Sometimes you can't cut stuff out just because, it's not as nice. Right. So maybe hit 4 of the 5 here. So one more that we're going to get to here. Okay. And before I do that, so yes, this last article, of course, we're going to be. All right, so let me just take care of something real quick here, then I'll be right back. Alrighty then, so here we go. All right, Neil Gaiman admits to sabotaging first attempt at, in smaller quotes, the Sandman live-action adaptation. Quote, "It was the worst script that I've ever read," unquote. Article by J.B. Augustine, published November 12, 2022. So, creator of The Sandman, Neil Gaiman, had chances to adapt the spooky comic before Netflix came calling, but he was very choosy about the hands he'd allowed to touch his characters. He revealed to Rolling Stone that his protagonist got to the extreme of outright sabotaging production. which is what happened when a proposed adaptation entered development hell 2 decades ago. So 20 years ago, so back in the late 90s there. The sabotage began when the author leaked the script, which he hated, to the once popular outlet Ain't It Cool News. Quote, I sent the script to Ain't It Cool News, which back then was read by people, unquote, said. Quote, and I thought, I wonder what Ain't It Cool News will think of the script that they're going to receive anonymously, unquote. Gaiman continued. Quote, and they wrote a fabulous article about how it was the worst script they'd ever been sent, and suddenly the prospect of that film happening went away, unquote. Wow, so apparently Ain't It Cool News had quite a bit of power back then, 20 years ago. Ain't It Cool News, they thought you sucked. You did suck. Apparently. Let's see now. Okay, so let's see if let me just check something here. All right. Anyways, Gaiman had reason to breathe a sigh of relief. The film was being produced by one of the most notorious names in Hollywood, John Peters, the man behind Tango and Cash, Wild Wild West, and The Abandoned Superman Lives. Central elements of the story were there, such as Morpheus seeking his gas mask-looking helm, his ruby, and a bag of sand. Lucifer Lucifer and the Corinthian were in it too, and they were also after the magical objects that were lost and scattered. Ain't It Cool and Gaiman agreed these pieces didn't come together and weren't afraid to let everyone know the script wasn't any good, even people at the studio. Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, if back then, I guess if Ain't It Cool told you it sucked, it sucked. I said earlier. I had never even heard of Ain't It Cool before now, but anyways, getting back to the article here. Quote, it was the worst script that I've ever read by anybody, unquote, Gaiman said, recalling a conversation he had with Peter's office. A guy in John Peters' office phoned me up and he said, quote, in smaller quotes, so Neil, have you had a chance to read the script we sent you? And I said, in smaller quotes, well, yes, I did. I haven't read all of it, but I've read enough. Gaiman adds, quote, he says, in small quote, so pretty good, huh? On small quote. And I said, in small quote, well, no. It really isn't, unquote, he said, in smaller quotes. Oh, come on. It must have been some stuff in there you loved, smaller quote. I said, in smaller quotes, there was nothing in there I loved. There was nothing in there I liked, unquote. Oh boy. He would emphatically clarify, quote, it was the worst script that I've ever read by anybody. It's not just the worst Sandman script that was the worst script I've ever been sent. And apparently, Ain't It Cool News agreed with him because that's exactly what they said too, right? That script must have really sucked hard. Oh boy. Oh boy. Uh, came and explained the plot for Peter's Sandman, which has more in common with the Arnold Schwarzenegger supernatural actioner End of Days and the Y2K scare. Quote, they were a family of identical brothers, and it was all a race to see who could get the ruby, the helm, and the bag of sand before midnight in 1999. Before the new millennium started, because whoever got it would be the winner, unquote. He revealed, quote, that was the plot, unquote. In another humorous twist, there happened to be a giant mechanical spider like the one in Wild Wild West. Peters infamously pushed for the same thing to be in Superman Lives, inspiring the picture's initial director, Kevin Smith, to make an early example of a meme out of this request by telling and retelling the story of making the film. Okay, so I guess this guy John Peter has a thing for big giant spiders. What did he do? Was he an Alistair Smythe fan or something like that from Spider Man? The Spencer and Alistair Smythe fan? Was he a big fan of Spider Slayers or something like that? That would be what one would might argue. But anyways, move on here. Before the sands of the hourglass trickled down to Netflix, other adaptations of the Sandman were in the works over the years. One of which was set to star Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Morpheus. Nothing came of that, only although Gaiman did get behind it. So there we go with that one then. Hello, we have a third person here. If you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, that'd be appreciated. Okay, so that's all the articles for tonight. Man, we got through those we got through those 5 articles pretty quick. But anyways, if you guys have anything more you'd like to add or say, I'm all ears. If you guys have any questions, anyways, let me just take a quick peek here. Before we get into the wrestling wrap up here, just have quite a few things to go over from that. Find myself a few things here. Okay. All right, so we know that. Just checking a few things here. All right. All right, so let's see now. Okay, so those are just two of us. So, anyways, so we do have some wrestling news to go over, so we'll probably do that for a bit here. So, so on the WWE front, as it were, let's see. Well, tonight, of course, tonight on Raw, the current WWE Women's Champions, um, Aaliyah and Raquel Rodriguez will be defending the women's title against two members of Damage Control of Dakota Kai and Io Sky, with Bailey in their corner. And then also, Edge looked to get his revenge for an attack by Dominic Mysterio, as the two of them will be squaring off. So, and there's been more news, of course. Braun Strowman made his return last week to the WWE, initially going on to Raw and then going over to SmackDown on Friday. And there's been talk that Bray Wyatt will be coming back soon. It's also was reported over the weekend that apparently Sasha Banks has no interest in returning to the WWE. That's been apparently the report of late. So yeah, so again, a lot of movement, a lot of moving and shaking about in WWE, as you know, and there have been some guys in XPW or not XPW but AEW that have been putting out feelers. Apparently, Kenny Omega put out a feeler while he was out injured. He might be interested in going to the WWE once his contract expired, and we'll talk more about that as there's still more and more to this whole CM Punk drama that's going on in AEW, among other things. Speaking of AEW, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the stuff going on there. So this Wednesday, of course, the semifinals of the world title matchup, which one match you'll see in a rematch from All Out. Bryan Danielson will be taking on Chris Jericho in one semifinal match, while Jon Moxley will be taking on Sammy Guevara. You basically have two matches there in which you're pitting members of the Blackpool Combat Club against Jericho Appreciation Society. You got, you have a former AEW world, 7-time former world champion and Chris Jericho taking on a 6-time world champion and Bryan Danielson. And then you have in the other semifinal match, of course, you got the 3-time TNT champion Sammy Guevara taking on Jon Moxley, who's currently a 2-time AEW World Heavyweight Champion, looking to ultimately become the first 3-time champion AEW World Champion. So, got a lot of intrigue and storytelling in that. We're still waiting on we're still waiting on the investigation into the whole shoot backstage with CM Punk, and it's also been rumored. There's a rumor going around that Punk may have actually planned that, knowing that he was going to be injured and being out for some time, because he supposedly re-injured himself during the match with Moxley. He supposedly planned that. That's one rumor going around. It hasn't been confirmed. But regardless, there are a lot of people both just in the AEW locker room as well as former AEW stars who are not happy. Bobby Fish has been going on social media talking about how he wants to fight CM Punk. Been a number of guys who hate him, who just absolutely do not like him. Among those include the Undertaker, who basically was not fond of. It was said that Undertaker had Push's first push killed back in 2009 because Undertaker felt that Punk did not necessarily carry himself as a champion, as he felt a world champion should carry himself. And considering that, of course, when you're talking about the WWE's probably biggest locker room leader, not just in terms of statute, but also in terms of experience and all that. That's quite a damning thing when he's telling you that he doesn't think the guy that you have as your world champion is representing your company. That's something to be said. So, all right, so anyways, so as all that come down, of course, as we told you last week, the trios title was already, the Death Triangle had won that title in a match against Best Friends. Also, some other, as we talked about earlier, of course, Kenny Omega, along with the Young Bucks, have sent out feelers to WWE. There's a lot of talk that with now Triple H running things, now a lot of people may want to start coming back to WWE, feeling that they'll finally get the chance that they felt they had deserved when they were there before, but Vince McMahon just wouldn't push them. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, also on this Wednesday's edition of Dynamite, there'll be a tag team match, in which on one side you'll have the AEW interim women's champion Toni Storm teaming with Wave women's champion Hikaru Shida, taking on Dr. Britt Baker and Serena Deeb this time. Now, apparently there's some issue that happened between Dr. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter after All Out event. There was a segment they caught backstage when Dr. Baker was giving a promo after the match, and Jamie Hayter just kind of went right by her and just, seemingly very upset. And as Dr. Baker tried to talk to her, Hayter just kind of blew her off. So there's more to come probably from that story as well. You see the professor, aka Serena Deeb, teaming with Dr. Britt Baker this week to take on Toni Storm and Hikaru Shida. So more of that we'll be looking to pan out, as it were. Oh yeah. So also in some other AEW news as well. Eddie Kingston has apparently been diagnosed with COVID. Now, while they're saying that he won't miss any of his AEW commitments, he had to be pulled from doing some shows, and as he was scheduled to be in New Japan this week to participate in some shows with them, leading to but with him getting COVID, those were scrapped. He was, I think, going to be teaming with. I know one of the people he was going to be teaming with was Wheeler Yuta. One other guy he was going to be teaming with to go up against I think members of the United Empire faction in New Japan. In other AEW news, of course, W. Morrissey made his return to AEW recently, now aligning himself with Stokely Hathaway, who is basically taking a collection of talent. He has also involved. He has he has the Gun Club. He has basically the Austin and Colton Gunn, Lee Moriarty, and of course Morrissey himself, and then Brian Cage, formerly of the Men of the Year faction. Now, I don't know what's going on with that either. In that Dan Lambert is now seemingly disappeared. Now, of course, this is a problem with, as I said, this is kind of a problem with AEW in general. It's a little too top heavy. It's like, you have guys coming in and out and stuff like that, and there are some guys who we haven't seen in a while. Other guys who are now going to be coming back and all that. So, we're just going to wait and see what happens here. Let's see. Anything else to report on that? Let's see. The next actual major wrestling event that's coming up, I know of, is in a couple weeks here on the 20th, or actually a little over a week from this Friday, the 23rd. Impact Wrestling will be having a Victory Road event. I'll probably talk more about that later in the week here. NWA has and then on the 7th, of course, Impact will have the Bound for Glory pay-per-view, which a couple matches already signed for that. Of course, are Eddie Edwards to take on Josh Alexander for the Impact World title, and then Jordan Grace defending the Impact Knockouts Championship against Masha Slamovich. So, and then Mickie James has also she started a bit of a career resurgence. She's gone back to the basics here. She's on, let's see, was it last week? No, it was on not this past Friday, but the week before. She came out and did a promo where she basically was saying she was going to start over here. In essence, going to earn her way to a knockout title. But if she lost along the way, that would be it. So, Mickie James has decided to do a win or go home angle here in Impact. She's going to keep winning until felt that she's earned a shot at the knockout title, or if she loses somewhere along the way, she plans on retiring. Mickie James has been in the business for 24 years, came in as Alexis Lurie on the East Coast Independents back in the late 90s there. Has had some pretty good runs in the WWE, Impact Wrestling, and most recently NWA, where, now during, of course, her time in Impact, she started, dating, eventually married Nick Aldis, who in Impact was known as Magnus. So, so I know they have a family and all that. Yeah, so, anyways, yeah, so, and as you guys know, last Monday we did I had RJ on. We were talking, of course, this is still that top part of the time of month where, traditionally has been, the time in which Saturday morning cartoons would come on. Um, so it brings back a lot of good memories. I've been, starting to watch more of the classic cartoons recently. Anyways, yeah. So let's see now. What else can we talk? We know that NWA will be doing sometime early part of next month, I believe, or actually, I think in November they'll be having a event called Hard Times. They're still setting things up there. They've got a national title contenders match setting up for that. As I've seen such names as Dr. Tom Pritchard and Ricky Steamboat recently become part of NWA's management structure, which you also have along there. Nick Aldis is an executive producer there. Carlene Begnard, who most people know better as Jazz. You got Joseph Dorgan, who is people know better as Johnny Swinger. And you have a lot of cross talent exchanges between NWA, AEW, and Impact Wrestling. You two guys. We just saw recently the Motor City Machine Guns team up with Jay Lethal to take on the remaining members of the Pinnacle and lose to them. So, and Maxwell J. Freeman, through the help of Stokely Hathaway and his crew, has garnered the casino chip that will guarantee him a world title shot at some later date. That's why he chose not to participate in the tournament this time. So, but we'll see as things go on how things pan out. All right, so let's see now. Well, I guess if there's nothing more to talk about, I think it might be a good time to start winding things down a bit here. Excuse me a moment. I got to go off camera here to take care of something real quick here. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So, anyways, I think I've hit upon just about everything I could for right now. As we're still waiting. We're waiting on more events coming up, some big events coming up for the professional wrestling side of it. Right now, it would seem that during convention season here, of course, things are a little bit more slower in the for the for the for a lot of the comic news right now. It seems like last couple weeks here things have been a little on the slow side. Not have as much comic news, but anyways, guys, it'll be a good time now to start trying to wrap things up a little bit here. So, without any further ado, why don't we go ahead and start wrap things up today, being Monday, September 12th, 2022. Why don't we go ahead, take a look back at this day in each history. So, the first stop we're going to go back to the first spot we're going to go back to here. I'm going to head back 90 years ago, as on this date 90 years ago today. I get to that part. On this date 90 years ago today, back in 1932, the Columbia Pictures animated short Seeing Stars premiered on this date, featuring Crazy Cat. This one was different from most shorts as this cartoon features celebrities in their animated form. So this is probably one of the first cartoons that kind of did that, where you'd have you know Hollywood. This is kind of a common practice in the golden age too, in which you'd have a lot of Hollywood celebrities lent their not just their voices but also their likenesses to a lot of these short films, animated shorts. Of course, it was produced by Charles Mint. Um, Anyways, on this date back in 1932, the Columbia Pictures short Seeing Stars would premiere in theaters. Now, anyways, moving on to the next piece of news. So here we go back to 2001, which was 21 years ago today. And on this date in 2001, here, the 270th issue of Cerebus from Aardvark-Vanaheim Publishing went on sale on this date back in 2001, 21 years ago today. Sold for $2.25 with 32 pages, which had two stories in it. One featuring, of course, the title of Cerebus. If Cerebus still be found. The story, of course, is written and drawn and lettered by Dave Sim. And the other story, Dave Sim, was Bill Knapp's State. It's an 8-page story. So on this date back in 2001, 21 years ago today, the 270th issue of Cerebus from Aardvark-Vanaheim Publishing went on sale on this date. And also, one last piece of each history to go through, and that was just from 5 years ago today. We head to 2017 here. As on this date, back 5 years ago today, in 2017, the final rounds of the Mae Young Classic, which was a one-off women's tournament that was held by the WWE. And the participants in the tournament were NXT and independent stars. So none of the, as I understand, none of the WWE's main roster women at the time were participating in this. This was something that was done as part of NXT, utilizing the NXT women's talent as well as independent. So you had names such as Fiona Peraza. I believe even Nikki James would participate. But let's see who some of these participants were, because many of them, some of them are still pretty active today. May Young Classic was they had 32 participants altogether, among, of course, Bianca Belair, who is the current Raw Women's Champion right now, participating in it. Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, Dakota Kai, let's see, Kyrie Sane, Lacey Evans, who's currently part of the main roster right now, Marty Bell, who was just recently the NWA Women's Mercedes Martinez, the current ROH Women's Champion, Mia Yim, in Impact Wrestling right now. Rachel Evers, who I believe, not sure. Renee Michelle, who's been doing some work for AEW. Rhea Ripley, who's part of course, who is basically part of the Judgment Day faction right now. Hannah Garrett, Sarah Logan, Serena Deeb, who's in AEW right now, Shayna Baszler, Kay Conti, who is right now under the name Ty Mello in AEW. Second generation star Tessa Blanchard, current AEW interim women's champion Tony Storm, Leah Lee. So these are some of the names of some of the people who participated 5 years ago in the Mae Young Classic. So that happened 5 years ago today as the finals of the Mae Young Classic. Actually, let me see. There was one replacement. Nixon Newell replaced. Nixon Newell was replaced before the tournament, before the official start of the tournament, due to an ACL injury. Fiona Peraza was actually named as an alternate in the event somebody else got injured. Of course, the broadcast team was Jim Ross and Leader were on commentary, and Lunder Blaze was the backstage in. Lunder Blaze, a.k.a. Deborah Maselli, who is currently a producer with NWA. The finals of that tournament were won by Kyrie Sane over Shayna Baszler. So there we go with that one. So that's all that we have for you guys tonight. Now don't forget to come back every night this week. Of course, Monday to Thursday we always do the news. Hopefully I'll have more stories and eventually figure out how to get it around 2 hours. Let's keep the average of 2 hours. And don't forget, this Friday, of course, I'll be having Rick Piper come in as my co-host. We'll be continuing our look back to we'll be looking back on May of 1939, looking at this week we'll be focusing in on Dell Comics, particularly Popular Comics Volume 1, number 40. Looking back to that, going through that a bit. We'll be going through the rest of May between now and October 7th, and then getting into June from October to November. So, moving through 1939 bit. So, anyways, guys, I thank you for being here tonight. I hope to catch you all tomorrow. Bye.